guys, and welcome back. Today we're going to be reviewing and discussing The Unbecoming of Mara Dyer by Michelle Hodkin. Okay, so this book was creepy, bizarre, unsettling, funny, and unsettling. So this book follows Mara Dyer and a group of her friends who go out on an adventure. Several mornings later, Mara wakes up in the hospital after being in a coma for several days and realizes that the three friends that she went out on this adventure with have died in a very mysterious way. Mara is the only one to have survived. Because of that, she has some mental instability, PTSD. She's kind of also going insane because she's hallucinating seeing her dead friends. Or is she hallucinating seeing her dead friends? That is the question. It's definitely supposed to be a psychological thriller. However, it's written in a contemporary fashion. I felt like the romance in the story had a larger part than the actual psychological element, just because the psychological element was so hard to follow that my brain kind of was like pushing it away and rejecting it. It was a really fast-paced read. It was really quick, but it had some paranormal elements to it. But I wouldn't say it's a thriller, but it does have some psychological things in there as well. This is a very hard book to explain if you weren't catching on. I did very much enjoy this story as I was reading it. Like I said, it was very captivating because I was so lost and confused for so much of the book that it kind of drove me to continue to read. However, once I finished the book, my experience is slightly different. I'm feeling a little bit dissatisfied by the conclusion. I feel like there have been no real resolutions. All of my questions just were answered with more questions, which were answered with more questions. It was that type of story. Once you solve one thing, it just makes you more confused about everything else. Where are we going? What is happening next? I don't even know. Where is this gonna go? How is it gonna end? Where are we going? What? End of volume 1. That's how you choose to end it? Didn't see that coming at all. Not sure if I like that direction or if I don't like that direction. I don't know. I really don't know anything. Go into this book realizing that you're going to be confused. My biggest fear is I was going to be confused, and let me tell you, I faced that fear and was confused in the majority of the book. Just be forewarned. I believe I gave it a 4 out of 5 on Goodreads. So that is it for the end of the non-spoilery section. I recommend reading it. We're going to talk about the spoilery goodness. As I was reading this book, I definitely felt like I wasn't going insane, but I wasn't grasping everything either. I definitely felt very lost, almost like things were slipping my mind. I don't know if that's how crazy people feel when they're going insane. Things would happen and I'd be like, I don't remember that happening. And I'm sure that was definitely the author's intention, to make you feel like you're losing your mind just a smidge. Just like Mara feels like she's losing her mind. Maybe more than a smidge, though. There came to a point where I could no longer tell if things were real or if things were fake, and at that point, I started to just power read. I'm going to stop thinking and I'm just going to read. Thinking is making my brain hurt. So let's just jump into one of my favorite things, which was Noah. If we didn't have Noah in this book, I'm not sure I could have endured. Mara is a pretty depressing character. Noah brings such great comedic relief. He's like the character that Shatter Me needed. Juliet needed a Noah and she didn't have one. I thought he was pretty swoon-worthy. Smartass of a character, and we all know those are my favorite characters. But I had a really hard time reconciling what people were saying about Noah with actually who I was seeing as Noah. He is this playboy. He does all these girls wrong, that he is such a bad guy, that he will use you and leave you. I believe they compared him to a condom at one point. I just couldn't reconcile that with how kind and caring and thoughtful he was being with Mara. He seemed to be really invested in her and in their relationship. I'm not really sure if I can trust Noah entirely, if I should trust Noah entirely. Who really is Noah? I don't know. In general, I liked his personality. He was, thank God, funny. I read this book with Trina between chapters, and she actually read it way ahead of me. I was really confused and I needed someone to kind of talk it through with, and she was really great about talking through it with me, but she wouldn't tell me her feelings of this book until after I finished it. I had mentioned to her that I thought there was something fishy going on with Noah, because there's a scene where they go to the restaurant and he's like, oh, 1 second, I'll be right back. And he turns around and he leaves. It kind of raises a red flag to me, like, what is Noah up to? Does Noah see dead people too? Do I trust Noah? I don't know. Because Mara's seeing dead people. It's like every scary movie when you like sense that presence behind you and you turn around and no one's there. But in Mara's world, someone's actually there. She's hallucinating her dead friends. All of her friends were mysteriously killed and all of them had closed caskets. So we never really have any proof that they're actually dead. Does that mean they're not actually dead? Did she hallucinate the whole thing? Did you think she was being haunted? Did you think she was hallucinating and going crazy? Did you think it turned out that she'd have superpowers? That one I didn't see coming. I was really kind of hoping that it was more than just her going insane. If Mara is just going crazy, that's not enough for me. I want there to be more to the story than just Mara losing her mind. I was hoping her friends were coming back to avenge themselves after being wrongly murdered. Let's also mention real quick, this book starts off with them playing with a Ouija board. You don't know this, but my thoughts on Ouija boards, they kind of freaking terrify me. Okay, so I'm reading about Ouija boards. It's like midnight, and I'm reading the first like 2 pages, and I'm starting to sweat. I'm not even joking. I was starting to have a panic attack while reading the first chapter of this book. I was like, I don't think I can read this. Just push through, Jordan. Just push through, it'll be okay. Rachel, her friend, asks the board, how am I going to die? Why you would ever want to know that is beyond me. Her friend Claire, I think something's fishy with Claire and Jude, because Claire is like really creepily into spirit things, like her favorite movie is The Blair Witch Project. Why? She wanted to go into this asylum and everything. So I think there's something really fishy with Claire and Jude too. Claire nudges her to ask the board how she's gonna die, and the board spells out Mara, and they all take that to mean that the board wants Mara to play because Mara's refusing to play. You dumb bunch of teenage idiots. It's telling you you're gonna die from Mara's gonna kill you. I mean, isn't that what you would take that as? You ask the board, how am I gonna die? It tells you Mara, oh my god, my friend's gonna kill me. That's how I would have taken it. They don't take it that way. The hallucinating thing is scarier. You don't really know what's real and what's not real. You gotta play the PETA game the whole time. Oh my gosh, and then the murders. So confused about the murders. First of all, we have the very first murder, Jordana. And then they just kind of like skip over it. And Mara sees it on the news and they're like, oh no, honey, you can't watch that, it's too disturbing. So for whatever reason, she gets to school a little bit early and she wants to go explore the area, and she like ventures off, and then she finds this dog, and the dog is being maltreated by this owner. She like envisions the owner dying with his head smashed against a rock and blood pooling and the flies festering in it. And then she goes to school after having a conversation with the owner, and when she comes back after school to check on the dog, the owner's dead. In the exact same way that she imagined in her mind. Okay, so my thoughts is that she blacked out, committed that murder, and went back to school and doesn't remember committing the murder. Second, that she has this weird premonition that can anticipate how people are going to die. Third, she can force people to die by whatever she's thinking, or she was dead the whole time that she was talking to him and she just hallucinated a man there. I don't really know. I was starting to think that maybe because she was in a coma and she like crossed into the other realm or whatever, she now had the ability to talk or commune with spirits and ghosts. Had like a weird premonition for being able to predict death, but none of that really was fleshed out, so I can't say if that's really the direction they're going or not. So then in the very end of the book, they tell us that Mara has this power that she can kill people with her mind by thinking how she wants them to die. What? This is a Powers book? Are they like mini X-Men? Why did it take that turn? There was no real evidence to support the powers. The powers are really open-ended. There's no real limitations on the powers or explanation of where the powers originated, or they're inherent in her from a birth and they were activated by her in a coma, or if something happened when she was in the coma, somehow obtained these powers. Are they really powers? Are her and Noah just both batshit crazy? I really don't know. Like Noah's powers. He can sense when other people are in pain, but then he can heal you too. and he healed the burn on Mara's arm. I mean, how did he get those powers? And then he had 4 distinct voices in his head. He heard Mara say, "Get them out," while she was in the insane asylum. What does that have to do with healing people or dogs? I also think it's very strange that she randomly threw in there how Noah's biological mom died. She was murdered at a protest rally. I just didn't think that was very necessary information, so I think it might come back into play at some other point in the story. I feel like it might have something to do with maybe his powers or Mara. The bathtub and the earring scene, she's trying to reach them, but she can't get them. Hours later, her mom finds her in the bathtub with her arm in the scalding water and the earring still in her ears. What was preventing her from pulling her arm out of the water? Was some force holding her arm down in there? Was she being like pulled down by some like demon spirit? What is happening to Mara? Speaking of the time thing, I felt like time was a foreign concept in this book. I understand that Mara is going insane and she's losing track of time, and the author probably wrote it in that way so that we feel like we're losing time. She would come home from school and then like the next page it would be the next morning, and she would have lost the last like 12 hours, but nobody questioned it. Like nobody was wondering where she was for 12 hours. Or it was a school day and the next day she wouldn't be going to school, and then the next day she'd go back to school. I just didn't feel like it was ever a continuous timeline. It was just so sporadic and jumpy. I tried to explain this to Trina, and I don't really think I explained it very well. Like parts of the story were really compacted where things would happen in rapid succession, and the other things were really drawn out. Middle of the night when she sits down to make toast, and then 6 hours later she's still eating toast. I just felt so lost. Probably on purpose, and she did a really good job of that if it was. It's just so ironic that the story begins in an insane asylum and Mara ends up going insane. And what is this whole scene with the kissing thing? Mara seems to really think that Noah was actually dead. So is Noah dreaming? Was he slipping into unconsciousness and dying? Was he actually dead? Is Mara hallucinating the whole thing? Did the kiss even happen? Is she like the Grim Reaper now? Like what is going on? Is she the Grim Reaper now? I love the scene though when Noah basically commands Mara to kiss him and she's like, I'm not into kissing. It's stupid and gross. Wow, I'm really employing my AP English vocabulary. Good job, Mara. Mara doth protest too much. That had me cracking up. There are just little lines like that spattered throughout this book that just had me laughing. I felt guilty to laugh almost because sometimes they were at the expense of Mara going crazy. For example, when she drinks the chicken blood, which, I'm sorry, there is no creepy voodoo man on this earth that's going to convince me to drink chicken blood for any amount of memories. She thinks she blacks out, but she's in this like maniac rage. She wakes up in his bed naked the next morning, surrounded by animal crackers. What are the animal crackers doing in my bed? He tells her, you thought they were your pets, and whenever I tried to take them away from you, you got really angry about it. Seriously, all I could picture is Mara's running around the house screaming, my precious, my precious. And then the whole shoulder thing, can't you tell it's hanging wrong? I would have shrugged, but you know, back to that weird witch doctor. Do you think she hallucinated seeing that sign? Or maybe that sign is like cloaked in mist and only the people who truly need his help can reach him? When she goes back, actively looking for him, she can't find his shop. I feel like that might come back into play later on in the series. Then finally, at the end of the book, we come back to the murder of Jordana. Noah has visions of this man with a Rolex. Oh my gosh. So then we have the whole Rolex scene. Noah just shows up outside of Mara's window and it's like, we have to go, your brother's been kidnapped. With no real like preamble as to what happened. I go to the Everglades, truck across the marsh, and I'm thinking, there are definitely alligators out there, and those can definitely kill you. And they're wading into this pool of water, and the alligators converge on Mara. Somehow, Mara has a meltdown. This happens in the zoo as well. It doesn't explicitly state that Mara visions killing the alligators or killing the insects. But when she comes to again, they're all dead. And they get to this concrete shed in the middle of the marsh. There's Joseph bound inside in the corner. What does this have anything to do with the plot? This is so random. It doesn't really get tied into the story until the very end. Somehow Noah makes this connection that the guy that killed Jordana probably also kidnapped Joseph, and something about the Rolex, and then all of a sudden Jude shows up in this police station and he's wearing a Rolex, and Mara's like, "He's wearing the Rolex." Noah's having visions of some guy rifling through paperwork in an office with a Rolex on, and I was thinking that maybe Mara's dad was the murderer, but that wasn't really ever brought to fruition until Jordana's mom starts to shoot bullets at Mara's dad. Why wasn't she trying to kill the actual criminal? He was standing right there. I feel like her dad's involved in this situation somehow. Then Mara goes to the police, tells them that she's committed these murders. She wants to be committed into some institution. She goes into the police station. She sees Jude in the police station wearing a Rolex. So I don't know if we're supposed to assume that Jude is alive and killed Jordana. At first I was like, holy shit, Jude's alive. But then I was talking with Trina, and she made a really good point that just because the guard in the police station saw Jude too does not confirm that Jude's actually alive, because there are other times where Mara has hallucinations that affect not just her, but people around her, like her classroom collapsing. She thinks that they are experiencing it too, but they're not. My thought was maybe he came back from the dead, or maybe he did escape the asylum somehow and now he's after her again. I don't really know. If she was truly the one to have caused the building to collapse, it should have killed Jude, because her powers are so focused on what is threatening her. Like with the insects, she killed all the insects and she didn't kill Noah. So I would think that if it was Jude who was threatening her in the asylum, because she can focus it so directly on that one person, it would have killed Jude for sure. And it should have excluded her two friends. So I'm wondering if maybe Jude caused the collapse and now is coming back to get Mara. So if Jude is alive, do you think he was at any point hallucinated at all? More stalking her than her hallucinating him? Do we think that maybe all of her friends are stalking her? Are they really dead? Are they haunting her? Maybe Jude is like a ghost or something now. I don't know. Not dead. Maybe he's on a mission from a demon or something. I don't know anything about this book. I was shocked when I read that Jude was alive at the end, because it makes you rethink everything. It makes you rethink the initial accident and all of the hallucinations that she'd had up until that point. And even though you've been rethinking it continuously throughout the whole story, because each time you turn a corner, there's new information that makes you question the old information you were given. I just don't know. It was a really interesting read. Weird things are happening. Those are my thoughts on The Unbecoming of Mara Dyer. If you've read this book and you have some thoughts you'd like to share, tell me what they are down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Until next time, I'll talk to you very soon. Bye!